Some people fear sudden disasters. I fear the slow, invisible erosion of a human life. For 20 years, I was a silent witness to a financial and psychological tragedy. I grew up in the shadow of my father's shop, a small, stagnant world that refused to acknowledge the gravity of a changing century. While the world outside was being rewritten by digital codes and borderless capital, that shop stayed frozen in time. I didn't just see a business failing. I saw a human spirit drying up. I saw the dust on the shelves settle into my father's eyes, turning his potential into a bitter form of immobility. I spent 2 decades observing the mechanics of that failure. I watched how comfort becomes a cage, how outdated cliches become iron bars, and how a person can work 12 hours a day for 40 years and still end up with nothing but a pile of regrets and a close sign. That shop was my laboratory, and the lesson was clear. If you do not move, you die while you are still breathing. For a long time, people thought I was just watching. They thought I was just a boy behind a counter. They were wrong. I was calculating. I didn't just learn the psychology of why people stay broke. I mastered the mathematics of the trap. I spent those 20 years deconstructing every transaction, every debt cycle, and every middle-class financial habit that leads to a dead end. I saw how the system extracts life force through inflation, interest, and the status tax. I realized that financial freedom isn't a secret. It's a formula that the majority is programmed to fail. I saw my father following the old math. Work hard, save a little, stay local. In a world that had moved to new math. I saw him betting his life on a local currency and a local zip code, while the elite were betting on global assets and borderless mobility. I am here to hand you the ledger of those 20 years. I am here to show you exactly where the numbers stop adding up for the average person. I will be honest, this channel is my rebellion. It is the result of a chronic, burning fear of becoming the man I watched for 2 decades. I was terrified of standing still, Yidindasemak. That fear used to paralyze me. It used to feel like an anchor. I was so afraid of moving in the wrong direction that I spent years shivering on the starting line. But then, I looked at the math again. The risk of moving and failing is nothing compared to the absolute certainty of staying still and drying up. Orven Invest is the final evolution of that U-turn. It is the moment I stopped being a victim of my observations and started being a strategist. I closed the door on the old Dukan of my mind. I cut the losses of my past. I stopped carrying the heavy silhouette of a man burdened by 20 years of trauma and decided to be reborn. Why Orven? Because the world hates randomness. It only obeys solid order and strategy. Orven is the order within the chaos. It is a mindset stripped of the emotional baggage that drags you down, the "what will people say" shackles, and the fake status symbols that slow you down. To a world that wants you to be heavy, heavy with debt, heavy with possessions, heavy with local ties, the Orven is a nightmare. He is light, he is fast, and he is impossible to catch. I shed the heavy versions of me, the one who followed the molds and cliches of a dead era. I reduced myself to the essentials so I could finally achieve escape velocity. I spent the last 5 months in a different shop, a different channel, failing, learning, and refining the algorithm of my own life. In the digital age, archaic approaches are useless. You must be like an Orven, possessing an unshakable foundation, yet sharp enough to shift your sails the moment the wind changes. I didn't open this channel to give you investment tips. This isn't a casino. This is a war room for the 21st century. I am using this platform as a school to finalize my own healing and to ensure that I never, ever return to that stagnant shop floor. In this channel, we are going to merge the hard math with the deep psychology. 1. The 20-year audit. I will break down the exact financial mistakes I watched people make for 2 decades so you don't have to live them. 2. The mathematics of freedom. We will calculate the life value of every dollar, pound, and hour. 3. Minimalist warfare. How to strip your lifestyle to the bone so your capital can grow at 5 times the speed of the average person. 4. Breaking the molds. Identifying the psychological cliches your parents and the media fed you to keep you predictable and broke. If you feel like you are standing still, if you feel the dust of stagnation settling on your life, if you are terrified of looking back in 20 years and seeing the same scenery, then you are my tribe. I am not your guru. I am a fellow escapee. I am a man who took 20 years of silence and turned it into a 30-year plan for absolute freedom. I am moving so I don't dry up. I am building so I don't rot. Movement is the only cure for the energy of the old shop. Freedom is the only goal worth selling your life for. I am Orven, and this is Orven Invest. It is time to stop being a unit of consumption and start being a master of your own movement. The 20 years of silence is over. The calculations are done. It's time to move. Hit the subscribe button, leave the weight behind, and let's start the sprint. See you in the next one.